Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this last capacity building session for the final and third call of the LIVEMX program. So my name is Grace Paluchek, and I'm working on the LIVEMX program right through to the end. So really excited to be hosting this session today on digital, and that I'll be joined today by Mathilde and shortly my colleague Patricia from Innova, one of the consortium partners. So welcome to everybody. I'll be doing the introduction, just a quick recap on what LIVEMX is all about and the different challenges we're looking to address and how things have happened so far when it comes to the different projects that have been selected. As a reminder, we are on the third open call now, and this is the last of the sessions. Just to anticipate a few questions, this recording will be available on the LIVEMX YouTube page. So I'll pop that link in the chat later on in the session. You can also find the recordings of the info session, the LIVEMX Meet the Expert, both live venues and export videos up there as well. And not only from this open call, but also from the second open call. So you've got lots of resources available to you all to, review our experts talking about these topics. And there's also a great resource on how to actually go through the whole application process and application form. So hopefully all these tools will be very useful for you all moving forward. So without further ado, just a quick recap on what LIVEMX is all about. At the end, this project was created with the idea to help the sector develop and strengthen skills, abilities, and processes in order to adapt in such a dynamic industry. So over these 3 years, 3 calls, this being the last of those, to really encourage music professionals like yourself to take a leading role to respond to these challenges that we've identified. So you may see I've activated a poll in the chat, which you can all see. It'd be great if you answer that so we can gauge who we have in this virtual Zoom room today. And we look forward to your questions. So feel free to already start dropping your questions in the chat, but this will be a dynamic session. So once I've done the introduction, Mathilde will do her introduction, and then we'll address challenge by challenge and the focus there. So at the end of the day, what is LIVEMX? I've explained why it was created, but in a nutshell, it's on one hand the funding scheme, which all of you are here to find out about how you can get your project selected and if it's viable. And on the other hand, the capacity building, which is sessions like this that you're attending today. The 3 partners behind the project are LIVEMX, which Patricia just spotted has joined us, so she'll be helping us on the Q&A at the end. We have EME, which is the European Music Exporters Exchange, and LiveDMA representing venues across Europe. And this is a project funded by the European Union. So for this funding scheme, we're addressing 3 key areas, as you may have realized by now. The first one being export, second being live venues, and the latter being digital circulation, which is what we're going to focus on today. So over these 3 years, we've acquired 4 million euros of funding for the LIVEMX project. You can apply to 3 different grant categories. So you can apply for 20,000 euros of funding, 40,000 euros of funding, or 60,000. Over this time, we will be funding over 60 projects. As you'll see a bit later on, I'll show you the 52 projects, that have already been selected. And right now we're in the third open call. The capacity building, as mentioned earlier, we have 2 different phases. Phase 1 for all of you that are interested in applying for the LIVEMX funding scheme, and with the information sessions and sessions like this that we've holding today on digital, meeting experts that can really help shape your project and answer your questions that you may have. And in phase 2, for the selected projects, which I am really happy today that we do have Mathilde with us, who's from Music Tech France, and it was actually one of the selected projects from the first open call. So I'm really excited that she'll be able to share some of her insights and also inform you that we will have an app and a series of other activities that we'll be running. So those that have been selected projects for LIVEMX platform will be able to network amongst themselves and develop skills and further promote the projects that they're working on. So as mentioned earlier, the most important thing for you to remember off this slide is the deadline. So the deadline for this third open call is the 6th of January. And just to mention that from the first open call, we selected 25 projects and the second 27 projects. So when I say we, I just want to stress that none of the consortium partners are involved in the selection process. We have external jury taking care of all the validation and evaluation of the projects that come in. So from those 25 selected projects in the first open call, we were really happy, received almost 250 applications, and 4 of those being digital, and one of those 4 being Mathilde here with us today. Really happy with the results on the second open call, 315 eligible applications. And the reason why I'm saying eligible is I'll go into further detail very soon on, how to be an eligible project. And of those 27 selected projects, 12 export, 11 live venues, and 4 digital that we'll go through in a bit further detail. Just to highlight, if you want to research any of those projects that have been selected, right now you have on the LIVEMX website, which is livemx.eu. I'm sure Patricia will put it in the chat for me a bit later on, so you can connect there. You can find the abstracts of the first open call projects that were selected. So you can start to do a little research on the sort of projects that have passed through the filter and our jury has selected. So why should you apply at the end of the day? We're looking, well, the LIVEMX program is funding up to the 100% of the project. It's a reporting process based on lump sum payments, and the projects are covered for up to 12 months. Now, it can be anything from 10 to 12 months, and all of the details can be found in a specific application guide, which is on the LIVEMX website, so you can see the timeline. Eligibility, and this is one that we tend to have the most questions on, and sort of people tend to forget to check when they are going through the LIVEMX application process, is, we are looking for projects that are in the fields of live, export, or digital circulation with a European dimension, valid only for legal entities. This is a project which is for a mono beneficiary. This doesn't mean that you can't incorporate partners to support you on this project. And as you can imagine, it's from you have to be from one of the Creative Europe countries. As mentioned, all details can be found on the website, because I really want to get to the key topic today, which is the digital, but you can find further details if you have any questions on eligibility, or share that at the end of the session. Another key component to creating a successful application, and something really important that we are looking for when it comes to the projects that we're selecting, is what is the European added value behind your project. And this, when we created the first call, was probably everybody's biggest question, is what do we actually mean by European value? So what we're looking at is that a project is including its capacity to go beyond national, regional, and local levels. What does that mean? It means that projects can include joint or collaborative activities in the main phase of the project, which ensure that the key benefits, learnings, and deliverables of the project are shared or disseminated widely across several countries. Or it can also be that projects that create results that are transferable to other countries and future implementers, or scalable across other European countries than the ones that are developed and tested in the project in the main phase. And I think probably one of my first questions for Mathilde later on is that she mentions at some point what was the European added value of her project, which I'm sure you'll see when she's doing the introduction. So because when it comes to digital priorities that we're looking for you to address, you also have to combine that with either the export priorities or the live music venue priorities. So just to give you a recap on what the music export priorities are, this would be developing music export through co-creation, promoting new music and artists abroad in innovative ways, and also developing professional networks and understanding of new markets. So this, just a quick reminder of the different export priorities. Regarding the live priorities, it's develop artist circulation in Europe. Think of ecological solutions adapted to the live music sector. So for anybody that comes up with a digital and live venue priority with an ecological focus, that would be great, because we've only got one project that's been selected so far that has addressed that specific ecological solutions. And I think one of the more popular ones is obviously going for the developing new audience strategies. So why are we here today, and what are we going to be really zooming in on? Obviously the digital priorities. So the first one being adapting, testing, or implementing digital solutions that already exist in the music sector. Secondly, training European music sector professionals to use these solutions that address the challenges. And thirdly, proposing formats to help deeper understand of the specifics behind these challenges that can be solved through digital and technological approaches. So as a reminder, on the application form and on your application process, you're going to have to declare which of these digital priorities you're looking to address, but then you're also going to have to combine that with one of the export or live venue challenges. So without further ado, after that pretty brief introduction, I think it gets shorter and shorter every time, so that's good. I'm going to hand on over now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and introduce you all to Mathilde No from Music Tech France for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you. Hi, I'm going to share mine then, just to start by giving you an overview of the project itself, and then we'll move on to the focuses that we are addressing, either on live and then on export. So so just to give you first a global overview of what we're working on. Our project is called Innovation Mapping for the European Music Sector, so LIVEMX. Very easy to remind everybody to remember. We have a website already online, so livems.eu. On that website, you'll see that we have a brief description of the project. So we are targeting, for now at least, with the support of LiveMX, we are gathering all AI companies, AI solutions addressing live, so the full live industry. So of course, we're also addressing venues and the music export side. So our goal is to create that mapping, of course, but we are also looking to get a bit more, a more analytical layer of what we're doing, because it's not only about just making the list and mapping out that ecosystem, but it's also understanding it better and how it collaborates with the live industry. So really start the dialogue between tech and the music side. So that's the global overview of what we have. So Music Tech France is the carrier of that project, but we also have two partners in that operation. Music Tech Germany, so the equivalent of Music Tech France, but based in Germany, and WISE, which is a conference happening in Berlin, which comes initially from China. The first editions happened in Beijing, and now it's happening in Berlin. So we wanted to have this very European vision of the project, involving both France and Germany and other countries. I'll get to that a little bit later. But we also wanted someone deeply involved in the live sector, in the conference, in event management. So yeah, that's why we are working, like three of us are working on that project. So yeah, just gonna briefly present a little bit everyone and how we're working on that specific topic. So that's the team, that's the three of us. So I am from Music Tech France, Matthias Strobel from Music Germany, and Philippe Greffer from WISE. We also have the support of Yvan Boudillet, who is part of the French side, who will be working on the mapping. But this is the core team. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. Obviously, everybody is very aware of how things are going regarding the project. Just a little bit about us so you can understand why we are working on specific topics like this one. So Music Tech France is an association. We are a collective of innovators based here in France. The majority of us are based in Paris, but the association is a national hub. We have about 80 members now that are part of the association. So that means that approximately 80 companies joined the association to be part of the full community that we gathered. We have created the association back in 2019. So it's been a little while. We've been doing this for 5 years. And we have a strong organization. So all our members can talk to each other, try to work together as well. And we try to plug them to the ecosystem and start that actual dialogue between bigger accounts, smaller startups, research centers. So we're very open on the topics that we try to work on. We are not specifically working on live. We are touching on a lot of subjects, but of course, live is a very important one for us. So we do have that full community. We are organizing meetups at least once a month. So trying to create that very solid basis. And since we have a good chunk of the ecosystem based in France, we are also in charge of kind of representing what happens on the ground. So we have that knowledge of what is happening on the innovation side in music. So we represent these interests to institutions, public institutions. So potentially we could talk about this with the National Center of Music, for example, in France. But that's why we're also in charge of bigger projects such as LIVEMX. And then we have a more international side of things. Because initially when we created Music Tech France, we also wanted to help our members get out of France. So try to get to other events, going to conferences, try to work with other companies and just export themselves. And we quickly got involved with a European ecosystem that we actually co-founded. And that's why that's the European value here. We are part of the Music Tech Europe ecosystem, which is an umbrella association that gathers Music Tech France, but also other countries that did the same thing, just creating an ecosystem here. So you have a few examples of who is involved in Music Tech Europe as collectives, and the goal here is to create this space of collaboration and specifically understanding the needs from the music industry, live industry. So we're talking both to recorded music industry and the live, and the innovation side. So making sure that innovation is done the smart way, if we can put it that way. So that's why the projects such as LIVEMX that we have is interesting to us because we're starting to map the ecosystem. So starting with AI and live. And we're doing this across several countries. So we are able to rely a little bit on everybody there on that map to just tell us a little bit more about what happens in their ecosystems. And we're trying to aggregate more knowledge as we go. So that's the first very big part of what we're doing. We're just asking everybody to just spread the word out and have as much knowledge as we can. So yeah, that's the main European target, and of course the lead on this project remains Music Tech France, but we are also taking advantage of the whole ecosystem. One specific thing for this project, we do have that aggregation of data, so learning about all AI companies working for live industry. But we added another thing. So as I was saying at the very beginning, we have an analytic layer above that. We decided to get the conversation started because we know that mapping doesn't exist yet. We're working on it. It hadn't been done before. That is for sure. We took a look and we made sure that it didn't exist before. And we decided to go through a few conferences and have someone from the live sector and someone from the tech sector talk to each other and see and start that discussion. So we decided to start at WISE because it was obviously easier to set up, and we had the full space to work on the various topics. The first one that we did was about live experiences and the immersive technologies in that area. And we did that with people from Sonar who came to just talk a little bit about what they did and just try to mirror that with the tech ecosystem. That was a very interesting conversation here, and we had a few takeaways. That was actually the actual launch of the project. So we announced that and then got into that discussion. That was the very first thing that we did. The second one was at California in Belgium. This one, we took an angle a little bit different. We wanted to have people who came from the live industry to the tech industry and try to create solutions or spaces to innovate related to that, to the need that they witnessed. So we did have Philip from Wise here because he was a booker initially. So he created that conference space because he kind of needed that. And Alex Stevens from Booker FM had been the programmer for the Door Festival, which is a very big one in Belgium, for 15 years. And he created a booking and optimization company for the festivals. So we would just wanted to have that idea of how to go from that point to the next. And the last one was back in October in Sofia in Bulgaria at So Live. And then on that one, we started having a few feedbacks for the European sector, and it's still our focus. We're still working on the mapping solely on the European ground, but we wanted to have that comparison with another territory, and we involved Music Tech Japan on that one to see if the trends were the same and if we had the same focuses. So that's the analytical part. So first, we are still working on the mapping and we're still aggregating data. So if you have any AI companies working for the live sector, please send them our way. And now we have a few feedbacks from actual conversations to add to the end at the end of our project. So that's it on the project itself for the innovation mapping. Are we taking a few questions maybe, if you have any?
I mean, I would have a question. I hope it's not too loud in my background.
Yeah, we can more or less hear you. That's good. Feel free.
Okay, cool. So I would be interested. I think you submitted to the first open call. Is that correct?
Yes, the very, very first one. Yeah.
Yeah. Because now, 2 years later, I suppose you elaborated more on your activities, so that has become very broad and super interesting. But what was that the actual project you submitted with all those activities mentioned now?
So yeah, initially we submitted the mapping and a few conversations during panels. So we asked for 3 sessions, and we might have a 4th one beginning of next year. But the panels were integrated in the initial proposal. But what changed a little bit? I'll get into that on the various focuses that we have, but depending on the findings that we had and the very few companies that we actually got for the mapping, we got into more conversations. So the conversation part is taking more space than we anticipated, but we didn't drop any part of the project. But yeah, it evolves a little bit. But all in all, in the bigger scheme, everything is still what we initially offered in that application. Yeah, but that was a very first call, exactly.
Cool. Thank you so much for that insight.
Thanks for your question, Ella. If there's any more questions about Mathilde's specific project with Music Tech, if not, we'll start moving on to the different challenges. All good. Let's move on to the challenges then. So we're going to start with the focus on digital challenges linked to live venues. Fire away.
Exactly. Okay. So getting to that specific challenges. So I divided that answer in two parts, but of course, happy to answer your questions right after. We started looking at what exists for now, like what is actually working right now for the live venues. We have a few companies that reached out. We had a few conversations, but since we were focusing on AI companies specifically, we tried to look at this tech specifically for the live venues and the live industry, but it appears that there are not that many. So we broadened our horizon a little bit just to at least understand the main trends and see potentially if we could just give a few insights for the next companies that are using AI for these venues. So the first one, the first main trend that we've seen was regarding sound and the sound within the venues. So I'm just mentioning a few examples here. Of course, there are others to mention, but they are based, at least these ones are based in Europe. A lot of them are based in the US actually, but regarding this, we have Neural DSP, which is a series of plugins, and they are doing sound processing hardware and software that can be used during live performances. It's not only for this, but it can be used in that setting. So it's pretty interesting to see that performance can be influenced by this. It's one of the only ones to do that. They are based in Finland. It's an interesting one. They've been here for a little while, and they've been working with various music genres, and specifically also on rock music, to see how they could change sounds in real time, for example. So if you're curious, you can go on their website. It's very exhaustive. Another one that we wanted to mention is Holoplot, which is more of a sound system. So it's an equipment for live venues. It doesn't change every time. It just has to adapt to specific venues. For example, just to give you a quick idea, they are powering the Sphere in Las Vegas. So they're the ones doing the sound system there, and the full immersion through sound is coming from them. They're based in Germany. And it's a pretty interesting company as well. So it's still equipment. It doesn't use AI per se, but it's a very innovative way to immerse the public. So it's more regarding the equipment of live venues, for example. But we do have other companies on that. We also could mention Pophouse, Holophonics, Protopixel, whatever. A few of them are working on this. It's not, again, not AI per se. But we have other trends that are interesting to keep in mind as well. We have a trend that we've seen coming emerge, at least, is accessibility here. So companies like SoundX that are creating something that you could wear that vibrates for deaf people, for example, who are going to festivals, like venues. So again, equipment of venues specifically. It's developing slowly, but they're here. They have been equipping some places, some venues right now in France. There are others as well. There is a company called Vipstra as well. Soundex might be the most advanced for now. And one other that is interesting is Gigmit, which is a booking platform that is they're based in Germany. It's pretty interesting. They're doing a matching of artists and venues. So it's answering one of the needs that we've been seeing in the conversations that we had regarding the discoverability. So programming the right people, for the right audience. Gigmit is specifically working on this.
Actually, the artist circulation challenge within the live venue side.
Exactly. Perfect example of this. But there are other companies. Of course, the main one, the most known would be maybe Rooster, but they're based in the US, so it's out of our mapping. But we have Gigmit, for example, here in Europe. And one example that I wanted to share that we actually heard from Paul from Sonar during our first conversation at WISE was a test that they did. It was a tech-assisted live performance. They did that in 2021. It was two DJs who were performing within a frame that was posed by an AI that was playing along. So it was kind of a B2B set with DJs and AI. So that was a test that they did with START, which is a research and innovation program that has been collaborating with Sonar. So they did use AI during live performances. It went well. The feedback was interesting. So nobody was coming over the other one. It was really a frame that was posed and was evolving throughout the set, and DJs had to adapt and play with that. So yeah, there at least for that came out from the first conversation that we had when we launched the project. We had a few examples like these ones. And then we got into maybe getting a few takeaways, because one thing that we actually realized was there are some trends, there are some innovative solutions for the live industry, but not as many regarding AI. So what we did was go to the live sector and ask them for their needs. One first thing that we did, since we're based in France, we went to Ecocen, which is the syndicate for the live sector, the private live sector, and asked them if their members had any feedback or any needs that innovation could actually answer, and potentially using AI as well. So we took that as an opportunity to do it the right way. So have the feedback, the actual need, and then offer some solutions or improved ones to answer these. We did one first workshop last September with Ecocen, which they actually invited us to their general assembly, and we got to do a workshop with them there. So we had a few people from live venues talking about what they needed. And these are the key takeaways that we got from this. So the first thing that came out was that there was an actual curiosity for augmented live experiences, as the one that I mentioned that Sonar did. The main thing being that these projects are pretty big to set up. It's a full commitment over a few years potentially, and it's a financial engagement for these events. So they still want to see that happening. They just need it to be a little bit more accessible. There were also some feedback about the audience management tool. So the need is clear. At least from what we've seen or what we heard, was that it was kind of lacking, or the ones already put in place weren't adapted to the evolution of the field. So we kept that in mind. Regarding discoverability, I just briefly mentioned that with Gigmit, for example, but there is a need regarding this, just finding the right people and understanding the audience, and then programming the right bands or musicians. Something, of course, that came up was the general lack of resources, whether we're talking about financial resources or even the number of employees that they might need to build these kind of projects. So that was very linked to the augmented live experiences. They just needed more resources to do this. And one interesting takeaway, and that might be one of the most interesting ones for us, was the need for interoperability between solutions. So meaning that the few venues that were here said that they were using several platforms but they didn't communicate between them. And that was a clear pain point there. And a better circulation of information within the industry. So meaning that data wasn't circulating as well as they would be expecting. So these were the main focus that came up from these workshops, and we do have a few of them planned over next January. So we took that, that's the first basis that we got, and we will get into that a little bit deeper beginning of 2025. So we have that full analytic side of our projects coming from the actual live sector. And we are looking to do the same thing in Germany. So yeah, for the live venues, that's the few examples that I have and the feedback that I got from the sector.
Thanks, Mathilde, and I can think it can give lots of inspiration to everybody in this chat. I'd just like to ask you a little bit more, on the point that you brought up on the audience management tools. Do you know of any tools that are already currently existing when it comes to addressing that challenge of building audiences in live venues?
We do have a few specific solutions working on audience, but the main problem was that no platform or tool was gathering all the feature that it might need. So that was the main thing. There are companies working on marketing, for example, like your music marketing. There are companies on data specifically that is such as sound charts, for example. But all these little bits are available. They just need one to actually gather everything in one place and save time for the teams that are working on audience.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for your insights on that. And just as a reminder to everybody, when we are talking about this digital space and these digital challenges, as Mathilde's gone into great detail for us, we are looking into like how to adapt, test, or implement existing digital solutions in the music sector, or how to train the sector to use these solutions and sort of understand what formats could be useful in the future. So I think Mathilde's been able to share some great prompts with us all today. Are there any questions on the digital combined with live venues from anybody in the audience? If you want, just put up your hand and we'll take the questions in order. So digital and live venues. No, I think you must have explained it very well. Oh, we've got Till. Welcome back, Till.
I would have one question.
Okay, let's maybe. Till's just put on his video. That's all. Feel free, Ella.
Okay. So my question would be, Mathilde, what you presented now is very much on a structural level, and identifying the challenges as a first step. And now I'm wondering, because what we might have in mind is rather something like a pilot project. Would that also be eligible for the open call, or is that something that fits better to another category?
Regarding at least for your specific project, you mean?
Yeah, I mean for the open call. So that would be rather maybe a question LiveMX could answer. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here with Patricia. Can you just go into maybe a little bit more detail? So your idea is to actually create a solution.
Well, yeah, or have a pilot project in that direction. It's not, it's not all set yet, but that would be one of the rough ideas we have.
Okay, and would it be addressing one of these areas?
Yeah.
Box would it tick, so to speak?
Well, we might go in direction audience management tools, but just also elaboration of maybe combining a live and digital audiences in a live venue, something like that.
I think when it comes to obviously piloting, it's also looking at the budget because that's all, the limitations of the LiveMX is we've got the 20, 40 and 60K strands. So if it does fit within those budgets. Patricia, I don't know if you want a second opinion on that, but
yeah, I think you've said it all, Grace. I think it's just important as an applicant to understand that there are different criteria that the jury team is going to look into, and I do encourage you to look at the guidelines and specifically see what exactly they'll be judging you on, because from what you're saying, and it's just introduction to your project, we can't speak to the relevancy of it or whatnot, but I think what you're saying fits within the project, but also make sure that you speak to the long-term impacts, who's it going to benefit, how is this important? But I think it's just really important for you to have a really structured application and a really well thought out content that is going to hit all those criteria that the jury is going to look at. It can be broad and needs to have a certain level of detail amongst various things to make sure that it's a fulsome application. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and just to second Patricia on that as well, you will see the actual specific grading and ranking criteria up there. So I would say the idea seems like it could fit if it's addressing, a specific one of these challenges and combining live venues and digital. It would just be following through from that. So hopefully that answers your question, Ellen. I know that Till's got his real life video hand up.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Thanks,
Just
Ellen.
to complete that, in our application, we obviously planned on getting in touch with the sector of live itself to get together some feedback and not just do mapping, but it ended up taking more space in our project management here. That's why we went directly to the syndicates and the bigger collectives, so we could actually get all these insights and get a little bit more next January. But initially, we didn't expect to get into these talks that deeply.
Thanks, Mathilde. Fire away, Till.
Hi, Grace. Hi, everybody. So I was also a little bit irritated by those selection criteria also in the beginning in the poll you put up there, because it sounds a little like the program would be exclusively focused on existing tools or training on existing tools. We have built a new tool. It's an end-to-end platform that actually addresses, I would say, the most pressing issue that Mathilde was talking about, and you will most likely hear the exact same thing in Germany, which is the general lack of resources. All the clubs are dying in Berlin. Live venues have the same issue. And our solution enables live venue operators to put greater live program on stage at disruptively lower cost. But it's a new solution. So is that outside of scope?
I think this is where I'd be answering the famous budget joker card that I did with Ella as well, because obviously creating new solutions from zero are very costly. So I think it's more of a budget question. And how much of the development does that budget allow you to do? And then what continuity does that have, Till?
So the specific ask from our side would be help us to connect live values to our service, because there is a small cost for actually connecting live venues to the cloud-based service, the remote production platform. And we would love to be very specific and say, let's connect 20 live venues in Europe and 50 artists. So it becomes also a self-sustaining platform business. And that would fit very well also in the budget size that is up here at LIVEMX.
Yeah, I think both from the budget through piloting and then also showing continuity, because that's also one of the other criteria. So
exactly.
Obviously, I'm not on the jury, and neither is Patricia. So we can just give you the standard, machine bot chat replies, but through human beings. But yeah, I would, give it a shot if you think that you're ticking all those boxes there.
I would just add something really quickly, and this is from some of the feedback that we've received from the jury, but also when we do have those sort of follow-up in terms of projects that weren't selected, we've had the opportunity to kind of see where some projects lost some points. And in some of the times, there is a large-scale project that say the total budget is 200K, but they have to be very specific as to what the 60K is going to cover within the large project, right? There's an umbrella project, and then you're asking for funding for a specific activity within a large project. That's fine. That's definitely allowed and encouraged. I think the challenge, especially for the jury, is understanding the large project, because what you're going to be presenting is the activity, and you're going to have to be very creative within the spacing and within the questions that is being asked, how you show the relevancy, show the quality, show all of the criteria components of your activity, while also telling the story of the bigger project. And I think that's where a lot of the projects have lost points, is we want to know, let's say you apply for the 60K, we want to know what that 60K is going to fund and how it relates to all your other activities. And then when you're talking about the impact, of course, you're going to talk about how the large project is going to impact the sector, but you still have to be very specific as to what's the impact of that one activity within the project. And I think that is the tricky part. And that's where your writing skills are going to have to be really on point. Your storytelling is really going to have to be on point, because I think that's where a lot of applicants lose points, is not making that connection or trying to explain the large project. And then the jury's going to say, well, 60K isn't enough for this, when really you're asking for a small portion. So just be mindful of that. But yeah.
Thanks, Patricia. That was some great insights. Hopefully that answers your question now, Till.
Absolutely.
Super. Worth coming back on Friday for the second session.
Yes, absolutely. It was also very
Just to
interesting.
give everybody context, Till was here in the live venue session, so there we are. Do we have any remaining questions on the digital and live venues? If not, we can move on to the export, Mathilde.
Okay. Great. So the third focus that I'm going to do today is then on music export. I'm just mentioning here that in our project management, we're not specifically differentiating the two. We are working for the live sector, and we just gather the two focuses. But for the sake of this presentation, we did the separation. So the ones I'm just gonna do the same method that I did before. So a few examples here. A lot of them are French because we know them pretty well. But here are some solutions that we feel like are just a good way to see what could be used, at least for this specific focus. So we divided that in three. One being promotion itself, so just promoting, allowing venues, artists to promote their program and try to get a little bit more visibility here, but just to reach out the right audience, so a more targeted approach. Another one would be on ticketing itself, so using data and having the right tools to just optimize a lot of things. And one being like data management, so making sure that data that is gathered by any kind of mean, ticketing, for example, is valued here. So if I'm taking promotion here, we have a company here in France called Your Music Marketing that has been pushed through the Music Tech Europe Academy, which is an acceleration program that Music Tech Europe is managing. They have been through a European development, which is pretty interesting because they were very well received. Just to give you a quick overview of what they do, it's a marketing social media campaign optimizer. So instead of going into meta business and doing that yourself, you can do that through their platforms. But what they are adding is an AI algorithm to just learn a bit more about audiences and being more precise. And it works pretty well. The results are getting better than the general campaign launched by artists, labels, or anyone working on these specific marketing objectives. They do help get artists. They do help the export because that way reaching out to the right audience and learning a little bit more about it. A few artists actually targeted different territories for their tour, for example, when they try to book new dates outside of France. So we know that there is a trend there, just knowing a little bit better about the audience itself. And I'm mentioning here Delight, which is also a data valuation and just marketing company, more leaning towards venues, but they do work with other kinds of events. And they've been here for a little while, and they were here for the full, just educating a lot of venues here in France about data that they had but weren't using. So they are used to that method, at least in that collaboration. So promotion, these aren't the only ones. Of course, we could mention Arena Metrics here as well. We could mention Base for Music, but these are the ones maybe that are more representative of that field. And if I move on to ticketing, we have a lot of companies getting on that trend. We do have one that is interesting because they are working with EcoSend that I mentioned before with the syndicate to work on a fair way to revisit ticketing, because Relax is specifically working on the secondhand sales. So if you want to give back your ticket and resell it, and make sure that if you're buying your ticket, it won't be a scam. They're working with the live sector itself to make sure that this project is integrated with their needs. And they have been working with that syndicate. Their project is called Entor. If you're interested in that, you can take a look online. They're working on developing that. They just got started, so we will have more information a little bit later. Billy is a ticketing company based on blockchain, so better traceability. And Ticketer is a company that is just aggregating data relevant to ticketing, audience knowledge, just making sure that everything is in one place. So that key point, that key takeaway that we got from venues specifically about just the interoperability and just having everything in one place to manage it a little bit easier, just to manage it easily. Ticketer is targeting this specifically for the European sector.
Just sorry to interrupt one sec. Just for the sort of the purposes of LiveMX, what everybody's focus on this specific slide should be is the promotion side of thing, because that ties in with the export challenge of finding sort of new innovative ways around promotion. So just for you to keep that in mind.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I should have mentioned that, but that's the main goal here, to see what exists for now and what could be actually used in that towards that goal. Yeah. So yeah, these marketing solutions and promotion solutions, for example, are they've been existing. That wasn't the main usage initially, but we realized that we could actually help that specific focus with music expert through them. So just getting their solutions a little bit out there and see what usage we could do with it. And ticketing, of course, is a stream of data and knowledge about audiences that is something to keep in mind and better value. And yeah, regarding data itself, we have a company called Fest. That's the first one there, the first logo that you see. They are building apps for festivals to know their audiences better, communicate easily during the events, but also making sure that they understand the behavior and the habits during the events themselves. So it's very focused on festivals, but it's a good way to understand how that works. How if some people in the audience are going to another, for example, if people are traveling a lot to get to that festival, a few details there to understand audiences better and see how they could how this information could actually feed the programming, the booking part of festivals and events, and the artists involved, of course. OpenStage does kind of that as well, just centralizes data about fans and create a more tailored offer regarding events or the artists and the teams themselves. And of course, SoundCharts is pretty known now. It's a very wide database for the music industry. It's not focused on live, but it's always interesting to get that information and just feed information there. So these solutions are not specifically about music expert, but all these informations and tools can just help this process. It's it just relates to the feedback that we got before about the fact that it has to operate with each other, but also maybe there could be an easier way and just centralizing all these informations. So that's very interesting. Again, not a lot of AI. Your music marketing involves that a little bit, Fest too, but yeah, that's very few. We still are seeing very few companies working with specifically AI. A lot of innovative things, not AI specifically.
And Mathilde, do you know of any tools that are, from the co-creation challenge perspective?
For
Or
in
detected
the
so far?
I missed the last part, sorry.
Do you know of any solutions or tools that are currently sort of working on, co-creation, the co-creation challenge of export?
Not that many. There are platforms that are working on co-creation itself, but not specifically for the live or music expert side, which is an interesting takeaway as well. Maybe there's some space to share, to create something or just to improve an existing platform. That's something that could be, of course, imagined, but for now we didn't see any. But if you know any, just send them our way. Again, we're very happy to meet them and see how that could be integrated to our project.
But I think this is great what you've shared, because even from the ticketing and data management perspective, it could be training the sector professionals around this, these solutions, training the different music export structures or people from different countries. So thank you for your input on that. Do we have any questions?
I do have just following up what you're saying. I think it's interesting to get that, because we asked that question. We went to California. We actually had two panels on live, so we kind of had another one that was bigger but involving people from the US. So it was 1 foot in Europe, 1 foot outside. So, but one thing that we heard back from them, so we're not speaking in place of anyone. The thing is that the live sector has a very solid structure. So it's an ecosystem that works well. It's a lot of people well established, and it's working that way. But the thing is that involving innovation is always a bit tricky here, because we thought about these companies working for data, or even what we talked about initially on live experiences, for example. But we're missing time. These operations and training need time, require some time from the teams, which are usually, especially when the events are coming up, it's always a bit tricky to find it. But it's also costs are rising for events promoters and producers. That's something that came up quite a lot in these conversations. So we got it to that point that about there are innovative solutions, there are trends, but it's the connection between live and innovation is always a bit difficult to put. We don't know exactly when to put it. We have to find the right time, the right people, and make sure that the solution makes sense. What I mean by that is that we fully understand that if any festival or live venue integrates a new platform to manage ticketing, for example, and it doesn't fit all their needs, or if something goes wrong, it's a lot of time wasted. So we do understand that. We think it requires a little bit more conversation on that part. And since innovative solutions are growing, but it's not at least for in the music space as a whole, live is not the first sector where innovation is the most represented. So we do have some room for improvement, obviously. And we thought that's the right way. The right way to do it would be just getting these feedbacks, getting exactly what the needs are, and then and just put these insights through innovative solutions, innovators, and see if there are improvements to be made or new companies to create new solutions. But that was the main pain point that was raised during these conversations that we had on panels. And that was the same thing that was brought to our attention at So Live. I didn't mention that, but the last panels that we did, we had the same feedback there, and done on that focus as well.
Thank you for incorporating those key takeaways as well in both of the sections, because I think it gives a lot more context and can inspire some extra ideas to you all that are following. Do we have any questions for Mathilde or Patricia or myself when it comes to the combination of digital and music export? If you like, feel free to put up your virtual Zoom hand. If not, we're happy to address now. If you want to stop sharing, maybe Mathilde, we can do a generic question and answer session for anybody that may have any remaining questions on digital as a whole. Wow, Mathilde.
Yes, I do one, if you may.
Yes, Bruno.
Thanks a lot for the session so far. Great stuff. I manage like a small incubator, artistic incubator, and one of the, let's say, chapters of this incubation process is go to market and basically how do we digitally get audience, etc., etc. What I noticed is that there's a lot of like digital tools and AI tools, etc., etc. And we train a lot those artists to be very good on doing that. And my question is, do you think like it's very important to train much more on the AI tools itself? And because I would apply a little bit on this vertical, then probably like the old tools that everybody knows, like whatever is uploading music or even like a ticketing or promoting with agencies. Yeah, I'm not sure if my question is good, but that's where I'm getting.
You mean using what is existing now or trading to
Yes.
new tools involving AI specifically?
Yeah, because you just highlighted so many tools that I probably never saw before. And that was like, okay, very enlightening. And yeah, and then I really thought about it, like if this is like a very important thing to do from now on, instead of just training on agencies. And for example, we try to make them understand pretty well how musical AI works and for them to find ways to get more into that, not third party itself. But now it just like came a lot of new things to my mind, and I just thought about it. AI is fundamental right now. That's my question.
Looking at what we've the informations that we gathered and the feedback from the live sector, it's a technology that won't go away. So yes, at least understanding how it works is important. A lot of companies that are making innovative solutions will in the end integrate that as well. So it's more about understanding how that works and what could actually fit the needs. Not everybody needs the exact same thing, obviously. That's why we have various companies working on various angles. But yeah, just understanding what makes sense and what you would need actually is the most important part, of course. Yeah, I think that's these companies that I mentioned are obviously going to evolve themselves. New ones are coming up, of course, and one of the core beliefs at Music Tech France and Europe, by extension, is the fact that innovation is about mutualizing development. The goal isn't to have like 10 companies doing the same thing a little bit differently, but having companies working or finding a way to collaborate and involve the required tech. It's not always AI, but it could be, and try to understand the needs and answer these. So it's, yeah, just trying to figure out how the technology could help, because it remains a tool. It's not a goal and an end game to use as much AI as we possibly can. It's just a tool to get to your objective. So I would say that just taking a look, seeing which one fit what you need like right now, and then make your choices on training your team or your artists, for example, there on these tools specifically. I don't know if that's clear.
Not forgetting about the European dimension to the idea and initiative or project that you may come up with. So
amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruno. As a reminder, Maria, I think, is unmuted. So is that a question for us?
Yes. I don't know if you can hear me okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, great. It's a question for clarification. And the challenge for the export strand about developing professional networks in new markets, the capacity training for the second call on export stated that there may be regions in Europe or a country where straightforward B2B networking has never been done in a country or among neighboring countries. But I believe Corinne says that this could be funded nationally, and so I wanted to ask, could what is meant by that third point for export?
Just checking if I understood correctly, Maria, is just to get a bit more context. So, are you looking to address just the export challenges with a networking event idea?
Yes.
Okay, and is it just within that territory, amongst professionals from that territory?
From neighboring countries, yes.
Okay, so that's sort of where we would advise, and I think that's probably what Corinne was mentioning. First of all, check what funding possibilities you have on a national level through your export office structure.
There is none.
Okay, so where are you from, Maria, if you don't mind me asking?
In Cyprus.
Okay. I think did you join for a previous session? I think I remember
Yes.
from last year or from the previous capacity building. I think Cyprus was a specific case where it's maybe worth chatting in more detail or sending a message directly to the MA team. Because which other neighboring countries were you going to incorporate in this idea that you had?
Some EU countries and some non-EU.
Okay. So I think what's best is send over the question to general@livemx.eu, and I'll share it again with Corinne and Tamara to really understand sort of, because it is very specific for Cyprus, and to understand if you could include just a short idea of what you're looking into setting up when it comes to an event. That would be great, and we can help you on that specifically.
Okay, and so in countries where there's no national fund, could the LiveMX fund
At this
such
point,
projects?
we have to confirm it because obviously Cyprus is a specific case because there are so many other European export structures around there. So I think we need to look at that in more detail to give you the best answer.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any other questions around digital or generic LiveMX questions? As a reminder, for those of you that maybe arrived a bit later, this session has been recorded and will be available on the LiveMX YouTube website, where you can also find the different Meet the Expert sessions for live venues and for export, not only from this call, but also for previous calls. So if you want to find out more and just have some more feedback, you have all that available for you. If we have no more questions from Matilda.
Excuse me.
Rui?
Sorry. A quick question, actually.
Yes.
You just said it's going to be available, but when exactly? I missed a little bit of this session. When will it be available?
This video will be available next week. All the other sessions that have happened so far, so the info session, Meet the Experts, live venues, and export are already up on the page. So the time it takes me to save this recording, share it with Innova, and then put it online, so probably the start of next week.
Okay, I just have another one, actually, a quick question, which is if a proposal actually involves two specific subjects, which I could say interlap between each other, let's say like exporting and digital, is it a plus in terms of its value? or should we focus more on each specific area?
So what we advise is obviously digital is a bit more of an exception, because when we're asking people to apply for the digital strand, we are looking for it to be combined with either live venues or export, and that is actually stipulated on the application process. So if you decide that your primary focus is digital, you will still have to select either live venues or export.
I see.
But if you think it's more of a, you know, an 80% related export project and it addresses directly one of those challenges, then maybe it's worth to focus your efforts entirely on the export side of things. So I think it depends on how your project is led.
Okay, yeah, it makes. I mean, we're using digital tools for sure, but the focus is on export and not on the digital side of things. So yeah, I understand.
I would focus on export then, and then just select which are the export challenges.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray. Yeah, as a reminder, if you do have any questions following this session, I think Patricia put in the chat earlier on that you can write to general@livemx.eu. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mathilde for sharing all the insights on her project, and secondly, preparing a great presentation for us today to give you the best tips possible for preparing your project. So virtual round of applause for Mathilde there. Hopefully we've been able to address some of your questions in this session, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Don't forget, deadline is the 6th of January, and all the tools are online to help you prepare both the guidelines, understand the application process, and everything you need. So good luck with your application, everybody.